Welcome into the Lucas and Lucas podcast. Lucas Frankel alongside Mike, Lucas, and Mike. How about it? The Nets are 8-1 in their past 9 games. They've won 4 in a row. And how about this? How about that win over on Saturday against the Pacers? They sat their entire team, Durant, Kyrie, Ben Simmons, Royce O'Neal, Nick Claxton, Seth Curry, and Joe Harris. And they beat an Indiana Pacers team that beat them earlier in the year with a fully loaded team. And that's in the playoff picture. I mean, that was one of the most just improbable wins. I didn't see a ton of the game, but one of the most improbable results I've seen in the NBA. Just to run a team that basically hadn't played together all year, and guys that basically are DNP when the normal lineup is there, and win a game against an NBA caliber team with Tyrese Halliburton and Buddy Hield and Miles Turner. I mean, and Ben Mathurin. That was insane.
Yeah, it was crazy. You look at the numbers. I mean, they had like 29 offensive rebounds or something absurd like that. Day'Ron Sharp had, I think, 9 himself, which is incredible. And the two things really stuck out to me about that result, Frank. First and foremost, guys at the end of an NBA roster are stupid talented. Like, they're legitimately talented, and just they're not as good as the guys that play. And I know that sounds silly, but we are seeing a plethora of talent in the NBA, and more now than in the last 20 years. The 12, 13, 14 guys on the bench can get you 20 points if you give them enough minutes. Like, everyone's just built to score in today's day and age. So, yeah, it was impressive to see them coexist and mesh as quickly as they did. But we shouldn't be surprised when a guy who finally gets minutes comes in and proves he can play, because guys 1 through 15 on an NBA bench can play. Secondly, maybe more importantly, I saw this in the Cavs-Spurs game last night. Teams overlook teams all the time, and it's unbelievable the level they'll play up to and the level they'll play down to throughout an 82-game regular season. It's just the ups and downs of what comes with playing so many games back-to-backs. I know this wasn't a back-to-back, but when you play so many games this season, you can't get up and be ready to play at 100 max% energy and capacity every single game. Last night, the Cavs, who are a superior team to the San Antonio Spurs, trailed by 19. They made it a 1-point game late. They lost. And after the game, Donovan Mitchell said, "We played the record of the team we were playing, not the actual opponent." I'm sure the Pacers saw the DNP list before the Nets game and said, "This is an easy win. Let's just coast. We're going to be able to come back late, pull it out." The Nets said, "Ha, psych. No, you're not." Pulled out a win. We see it all the time in the NBA. You can't take any regular season game with too much enthusiasm or too much distraught, because these guys fluctuate so much on a nightly basis. But credit where credit's due. The Nets backups who don't typically play, who got in, balled out, and it's awesome to see them. Hopefully that builds confidence, not only them, but in Jacque Vaughn, to give them more opportunities down the road.
The Nets out-rebounded the Pacers 59-30. 59-30. And they have, Miles.
Was it 29 offensive rebounds? Was that the number?
29 offensive rebounds. They had one less total. They had 29 offensive rebounds. The Pacers had 30 for the game. And I mean, the Pacers have a pretty decent front line with, Miles Turner leading that pack. He only had 3 rebounds. I thought Day'Ron Sharp, I hate to say it because it may be a little bit too out there, but I thought he looked better than Nick Claxton has all year. Like, how aggressive he was, how confident he was with the ball in the post, the way he was finishing at the rim. It just looked like someone who really refined his game. That was just my biggest takeaway, was how good he played. And Cam Thomas, whenever he just gets an opportunity to be, he's in a tough spot, Cam Thomas, because when he just gets the opportunity to just score and doesn't have to worry about deferring to KD and Kyrie, he can be one of the most prolific scorers in the league. But when he's on a team with a lot other scorers, it's kind of hard to see where he fits in, because he can't get into a rhythm when KD and Kyrie are taking.
And he doesn't do anything else particularly well either, Frankel. So it's tough to put him in there with guys like Kyrie, Durant, TJ Warren, and some of these other guys they have.
Who's look great, by the way. TJ Warren has been unbelievable.
Yes. Yeah, so it's tough to put Cam Thomas next to them, because he gets facilitated to being a spot-up shooter, and that's not what he's good at. Or not what he's best at. So, yeah, he's in a tough spot. But like I said, those guys, the Nets have a couple. Thomas is the one that stands out. On a bad team, would you be shocked if Cam Thomas was averaging 22.5 points per game if he got the run?
No, but that's the thing, though. Where does he fit in? Because it doesn't seem like he is, I don't know, is mature enough or just able to mesh well enough with any team, unless he is the number one option to score. When he's not the number one option, where does he fit? Because he clearly isn't the kind of guy that could just,
Are you asking me that question?
I don't know. I mean, I don't know what the answer is. I guess my fear is that there's no place for him in the NBA on a team on a good team.
No,
there's no place for him.
I don't think at this stage of his career right now, like I don't think he's a high level rotation guy in a good NBA team. Because I think you're right. I think he's at his best and maximizing his talents when he could be the sixth man on a team, but that sixth unit or that second unit is focused around him on offense. And with the Nets and Kyrie and KD, you're never taking both of them off the court for enough time for Cam Thomas to really get into rhythm. He has to go to a team like, let's say Miami, who may not be super offensively charged to begin with, and their secondary unit features a bunch of shooters, Duncan Robinson, like guys who play off the ball. Thomas could be your primary ball handler and scorer. And it might not be the perfect example, but a system like that where your two stars may not be super aggressive. And even if you keep one of Butler or Bam on the court, it's not like Bam Adebayo is getting the ball every other possession, turning his back to the basket and facing up. Like I think that's where he fits in better than anything else. But at the end of the day, he could play. Like Cam Thomas can ball. I just don't think he fits great into what the Nets need. But he is, last point on him, a tiny bit of insurance to Kyrie. Because he's like 65% of Kyrie Irving, 70% of Kyrie Irving if Kyrie goes on one of his sabbaticals for whatever reason.
It was really unfortunate because if they had offered player props for Saturday's game, I didn't see them. Granted, I wasn't checking like the whole day, but I was looking for Cam Thomas's player prop once all those guys were out. I didn't see
the first day Kyrie got suspended after the movie thing against the Wizards. Remember that?
Yeah.
Cam Thomas's over under points was 9.5, and it was my third biggest win of the year. I put like 4 units on it. He had 19, and he had 10 in the first like 12 minutes of the game. So you want to win money if the Nets are sitting guys and Thomas is going to play, take the over on his points. Frank, I'm glad you're on the same wavelength as me with that.
I didn't see them offer him for that Pacer game, which is really unfortunate. I guess they didn't know how to handicap it. They may have been available right before the game. I was too.
I didn't look either.
Either way, but the Nets got a stretch coming up here. So yeah, the Raptors on Friday, Pistons on Sunday. Those should both probably be wins. But after that, they have 3 games in a row: Warriors at home, Bucks at home, Cavs at home. This is like, I know like there's a bunch of basketball left and stuff, all of January, all of February, all of March. But like this 3-game stretch right there is, I don't want to say it's like going to define their season, but like the Nets haven't beaten an elite team all year. They lost to the fully loaded Pelicans team. They lost to a fully loaded Grizzlies team. They beat the Grizzlies when Ja didn't play. They lost to the Mavericks twice. They lost to the Sixers the one time they played them. They lost to the Celtics the one time they played them. They lost to the Bucks the one time they played them. Like this is like, these are 3 measuring stick games. If they can go 2-1, my whole outlook on the season will change. If they go 0-3, then they are who I thought they were. I don't know what your confidence level is. Mine isn't super high. I know the Cavs are sort of struggling a little bit here.
Cavs, was it in Cleveland or is it in Brooklyn?
So it's home versus the Warriors, home versus the Bucks, and then at Cleveland on the 26th.
Oh, I'm not going to be here. Crap.
I'll
be back in Jersey. Well, Cleveland in Cleveland is phenomenal. They're 12-2 at home. They're 5-9 on the road. Different team home and away. So if they could beat Cleveland in Cleveland, that's a legit win. The Warriors are so Jekyll and Hyde. You have absolutely no idea what you're getting from them on any given night outside of Steph Curry. And the Bucks they're just tough, man. They're really freaking good. So yeah, I agree with you. I don't think any 3-game stretch in December will define a season, but I do think it is a really good test for the Nets, who have beaten up on, like you said, a bunch of crappy teams. And I'm glad you did the schedule work, because I thought that was the case, but I wasn't 100% sure. It'll be a big test to see, is this team actually a contender in the Eastern Conference, or if they're just a good regular season team, probably not going to do any noise in the postseason. And if we're being honest, I think there's really 2 teams in the Eastern Conference, and then everyone else is in that secondary tier. The Nets right now have positioned themselves to be in that secondary tier. Let's see if they can push the boundary and kind of get into that 1.5. They're better than some 2s. You're playing 3 2s this upcoming stretch. Golden State, Milwaukee, Cleveland, they're 2s. I think Milwaukee's a 1, excuse me. You got Milwaukee and Boston are the 1s. There's a middle ground, and then Cleveland, Brooklyn, throwing a couple other teams there. So we'll see. It should be fun. And I can't believe I've been to so many Cavs. I've been to 6 Cav games already this year, Frank. I'm going again on Friday when they play the Pacers. I can't believe they're playing the Nets when I'm not there. That does not make me happy.
All right. Last point. Was there one more point I wanted to make about the Nets? If I had a last point about the Nets, I can't remember what it is. Either way, the Jets have lost 2 straight games. They're now out of the playoffs. after the season ended today. The Patriots beat them twice, so there's no tiebreaker over the Patriots. I don't think the Jets are making the playoffs, and I don't know how popular of a take this is, but the Jets should go back to Zach Wilson. They were 5-2 when he played. The Mike White game, Mike, this year was against the Bears. It was against the Bears, who have the worst pass defense in the league. And granted, he didn't play bad against the Vikings. I mean, the Jets had like 9 red zone trips in that game and scored like 1 time against the Vikings, and against the Bills only scored 1 touchdown on a Bam Knight touchdown run. But I just don't think Mike White is an NFL caliber quarterback. I'm not saying Zach Wilson is, but I think he still has a little more of a ceiling at this stage of the game, and the Jets won with him. I know like a lot. The one reason why I don't think they'll go back to him is because of the way the lock guys in the locker room talk about Zach Wilson and talk about Mike White. They seem to think Mike White is like the biggest warrior they've ever been around, and the way he takes those hits and comes back into the game, they like really look up to it.
Yeah.
But if the Jets are like trying to be competitive, I don't know. I feel like I'm not saying like Zach Wilson like is going to be a star or gives them the best chance to win, but the facts are the facts. They went 5-2 with Zach Wilson playing, and they beat teams like the Buffalo Bills.
But let me ask you a question, and I think this is the one point, and I've heard other people make that Zach Wilson thing, especially if Mike White's not healthy. That 5-2 start was based a lot on them having a dominant running attack before Breece Hall went out, when you had Elijah Vera Tucker in at left guard, and schematically they threw the ball a whole lot less. Is it Mike White the issue? Is it the fact they're throwing the ball 55 times a game now because they have no running game? And I didn't watch this past game Sunday, Frankel, so I'll defer to you on this. But is Mike White being asked to do too much and Zach Wilson was being asked to do just enough? And that's why Mike White is maybe being exposed as he's not as good as – he's not winning because – is the question – again, I didn't ask a question, but is what I'm trying to say make sense?
I know what you're saying. So the Jets are 2-4 since Breece Hall went out. They beat the Bills with Zach Wilson. They lost to the Patriots. They beat the Bears and lost 2 road games to the Vikings and the Bills. 2 one-score games. I mean, could have gone either way. Breece Hall shouldn't matter that much. Breece Hall was incredible. He was going to win Rookie of the Year if he stayed healthy. He looked like one of the most impressive running backs the Jets have had in in over a decade, probably maybe since Thomas Jones in 2009-10 range he was absolutely destroying it, game breaker every level. But him getting hurt shouldn't. Obviously, it hurts, and you hate losing guys, but it shouldn't be the game breaker. Obviously, their offensive line, Vera Tucker, Mekhi Becton, Max Mitchell, 3 starters that you were counting on coming into the season, all basically done for the year. Vera Tucker and Becton have been done for a while. Max Mitchell, I believe, has blood clots and has been placed on IR. I don't think he's playing again this year. So they have issues on the offensive line. Now that other teams don't face that. I'm not pointing it all to Breece Hall. I mean,
I'm not saying it's all Breece Hall. I'm just saying that they're asking Mike White to throw 55 times this week and close to 60 against the Vikings. Like, I think
are they so like amazed by Mike White? They're like, "Ooh, we finally have a guy who looks like he can throw the ball. Just have him throw it around."
No, I think it's more that they don't trust the run game like they used to with Breece Hall, and it's no knock on Michael Carter Williams or Zonovan Knight or Bam Knight, whatever.
No, that's not Michael Carter Williams. Michael Carter.
Oh, Michael Carter Williams was the Rookie of the Year in the NBA. Michael Carter and Zonovan Knight, like, no disrespect, they're not the quality that Breece Hall was as a running back. So the Jets have changed their offensive philosophy. I don't think Zach Wilson should ever throw the ball 55 times. I don't think Mike White should be throwing the ball 55 times. But I think I've seen it enough.
Hang on. Because, like, technically no quarterback should be throwing that ball to make that.
Agreed. But I guess what I'm saying is I watched enough Zach Wilson, enough Mike White. I watched the entire Bears game, which I know is the anomaly, and I watched most of the Jets game against the Vikings, excuse me. I did not see this past week. I have seen enough looking at the two to say there's something Mike White's doing that Zach Wilson was unable to unlock with this offense. Elijah Moore's involved. Garrett Wilson looks infinitely better with Mike White and Joe Flacco than he did with Zach Wilson. I do think it'd be crazy for them to not put Zach Wilson back in if Mike White's not healthy. To go with Joe Flacco would be an atrocity. But I don't think if Mike White's healthy, you go back to Zach Wilson. I think the 5-2 record with Zach Wilson is more of a result of them having a good running game, a balanced offense and a dominant defense playing lesser competition than it is now because Mike White all of a sudden has been a downgrade at the quarterback position.
I don't think it's hard to say. The moral of the story is I don't think the Jets are making the playoffs.
The Giants aren't either.
They play the Lions this week. The Lions are like the hottest team in the league, and I don't unless we have another Mike White game, but it seems like those are too few and far between. The Lions, that game's right now at last check was a pick 'em. The Lions just look so good right now with Goff and St. Brown, and now they got Jameson Williams back from injury. They're just so loaded, and Swift and Jamal Williams and at running back, like they are absolutely loaded at just from top to bottom on offense.
They're good.
I know people have said like a great trade for the Lions, but like maybe, but the Rams got a Super Bowl out of it. So as long as the Lions don't win a Super Bowl, that trade will always be one. Granted, the Rams may take them 6 or 7 years to be like competitive again. But
it's one of the trades that worked out for both teams. The Rams got what they wanted. The Lions got what they wanted. It's one of the rare instances where I think you could say both teams at the end of the day got what they needed out of the deal. And good, you know what? When trades like that happen, good for both teams. Good for Matthew Stafford for getting to a better situation. Good for the Lions for recouping draft picks. I don't think in their wildest dreams they expect to have potentially 2 top 5 picks this upcoming year. So it worked out for both teams. At the end of the day, give me the Super Bowl over the draft picks, but it worked out for both.
So Cleveland Browns have Deshaun Watson back. They've gone 1-1. They beat the Houston Texans and they lost to the Cincinnati Bengals. And my biggest takeaway is what the hell is happening with Nick Chubb now that I know you tweeted something about them being the shotgun formation with Watson and Chubb being a good sort of under center running back. I don't know. I'm obviously never played football, but I guess some guys like having that forward momentum, which helps them more instead of just getting the ball and having to create the momentum. I don't know much about it. All I know is that my fantasy team is really, really struggling right now, and I need Nick Chubb to turn back into an elite player because the playoffs start this week, and I need a huge game out of Nick Chubb against, I believe, the Baltimore Ravens, who they're playing this week.
It's not gonna happen. I would not feel confident that. So you ever have a take on Twitter, Frank? And half the people, and there was a ton of, I think I got like 200 comments on it and like 800 likes and like 100 retweets. 100 people said that's smart. I agree. And then 100% I'm the dumbest person I've ever seen. So, you know, when you're about a 50-50 split on a take, that means you're probably onto something. Technically, the advanced numbers show that Chubb has been a little better this year at a shotgun than he has been under center or in a single back formation. I said I formation. It was usually a single back, like him deep, but with the quarterback under center. My thing when I watched the Browns, Deshaun Watson in Houston spent 80% of his snaps in shotgun. He said he likes being in shotgun better. Kevin Stefanski historically has been an under center, single back quarterback, ton of play action, not a ton of shotgun. Now, granted, you adapt to your best player, so I think he's going to adapt to what Deshaun Watson likes, even though he'll probably drop from maybe 80% to 60%. But that's kind of the split we've seen through the first 2 games. Nick Chubb's been terrible the last 2 games. It's partially because the offensive line is beat up and not playing well, but it's also because Nick Chubb, you ready for a stat? So they're on their 4th string center, by the way. The Browns are 4th string center. When their 3rd string center, who was playing unbelievable, got hurt, he was averaging 2.7 yards per carry before contact and 2.3 yards after contact. So he's averaging 5 yards per run. Since he's been hurt, and everyone keeps saying, oh, the offensive line, he's averaging 2.6 yards per carry before contact, so 0.1 yard difference. And he's averaging 1.3 yards per carry after contact. So his yards per contact after the center's been gone has been cut in half. I think it's 2 reasons. A, the Browns have said time and time again, we don't like to give him too many carries because he slows down later in the year. So I think just naturally Nick Chubb is a guy that starts super hot and just the wear and tear kind of takes him down, contrary to what everyone in Cleveland wants to scream. 2, they're going to throw the ball a ton with Watson, Frank. Like, they got Deshaun Watson in here. They're out of the playoffs. The next 4 games is all about getting Deshaun ready for next season, ready for 2023, getting him some chemistry with Amari Cooper, Donovan Peoples-Jones, David Njoku. That's their primary focus of the last 4 games of the season, meaning I don't think we're going to see Nick Chubb get a ton of carries. I would not start him this weekend against a really good Baltimore defense. I'm serious. I wouldn't. And also,
would you start Kareem Hunt?
No. If I would start any Browns running back, well, I probably still would start Chubb because he gets the red zone carries, but I don't think any of them is. I think they win this week. I think it's a low. I think it's like 17-14 in an ugly game, and I just don't trust any of them. But Jerome Ford is the sneaky guy. He's going to get some carries this week. I'd be shocked if he did.
38.5 is the total right now on Caesar Sportsbook.
For Nick Chubb?
No, 38.5 total points. The over under for the game. So you're saying take the under?
I would take the under. Yeah, I would take.
All right. All I know is that like if the Browns want to be successful and be a legitimate organization, hand the ball to Nick Chubb and good things will happen. Just give him the ball like 40 times.
You ready for a stat? I'll write on that, Frank. The Browns are 4-1 this year when Nick Chubb. The Browns are 4-0 this year when Nick Chubb gets 20 carries. They're 1-8 when he doesn't get, or 1-8 when he doesn't get 20 carries.
You said it, not me. I mean, what more needs to be said? Give the ball to Nick. I mean, a lot of that is you're trailing in games and you have to throw it. So like that's why I was.
It's the most misleading stat, but it is funny that
it's a very misleading stat because when you're ahead, you run the ball. When you're trailing, you throw it. Like it's like a baseball team. When the closer comes in, they have this unbelievable record. When he doesn't pitch, they have this record because when that closer comes in, you have the lead. But, all right, whatever.
It is every Cleveland Twitter troll's favorite stat to just throw out there when they're like, look at the record when Nick Chubb gets 20 carries, and it's like. Yeah, exactly. You nailed it.
As I usually do. Moving on to Major League Baseball, the Yankees have made a couple moves so far this offseason. They re-signed Anthony Rizzo. They signed Tommy Kahnle to a 2-year deal, and they also brought back Aaron Judge to a 9-year, $360 million deal. I mean, I guess they did what they had to do, but they haven't done anything else really since then or really much before it. They're pretty much running it back, and I'm not super excited about it. You see what other teams are doing around baseball, whether they see all the additions the Mets have made. I don't see the level of improvement from the Yankees. Like they got flat out embarrassed last year by the Astros all year long, not just in the playoffs. During the whole regular season too, they got 2 miracle wins that they shouldn't have won. So they theoretically should have been swept by the Astros, and now they're just running back the same team. How can anyone reasonable expect things to turn out differently for the Yankees this year? I don't understand what they're doing.
Well, I'm hoping Carlos Rodon.
Rodon. So many people mispronounce it. It's Carlos Rodon. Like Carlos Rodon.
He has the accent in the weird place. Okay, whatever. Rodon should be the next guy they bring in, and hopefully that is the move they're waiting on. They're just finalizing some numbers. I'm fingers crossed praying that is the case because they do need another pitcher badly. I think bringing Tommy back is a big move as well to solidify the staff. But offensively, frankly, we talk about it. We've been doing the podcast 5 years now. For 5 years, they just have too many guys.
We started the podcast I believe in 2020.
But we've been doing stuff since college. It's like I hate lineups that have so many guys that strike out or hit home runs. And once again, the Yankees are going to roll back a lineup that has like 6 guys who are straight home run or strikeout guys, and that drives me absolutely up the wall. They're hoping LeMahieu comes back healthy. And obviously, if he does, that's a major boost to their offense.
I mean, he'll be healthy at some point. Whether he can hold up for a season, that's another question. Like
that's what I'm saying. Yeah, they're banking on that. Is Benintendi gone? He was only 1 year.
He's still a free agent. That's like he's still a free agent. Joey Gallo is still a free agent.
No.
But here's the thing: the only defense for Joey Gallo is that they're banning the shift. So like, I know they'll still like have a guy like in short right field, but they're like. On that side of the field, like shaded over. I'm curious to see how it's going to look, but like if there's any player who's going to benefit from the shift, the number one beneficiary is going to be Joey Gallo.
Is he a lefty or a righty?
Lefty. That's why the Yankees traded for him in the first place. They thought he was a power hitter in Yankee Stadium, would hit a bunch of home runs. The only issue was he couldn't make contact. Or when he did make contact, he hit it right at the fielder.
Can he hit lefties?
I mean, he can't really hit anybody. He's a 170 hitter.
Good point. Good point.
The Yankees aren't bringing back Joey Gallo. I'm just saying that he is going to hit like 230 next year. After hitting like 170 like the past 2 years with the Yankees and the Dodgers, his average is gonna go up significantly. He's still gonna be a really crappy hitter, but he'll hit like 230 with like 35 home runs this year.
Could be worse.
But an interesting thing I keep seeing from the Yankees, and no one else has seemed to pick up on this. The Yankees, they wish all their players a happy birthday whenever anyone has a birthday. Today, Tuesday, is Gleyber Torres' birthday. You got a very nice happy birthday post from the Yankees. It's Gleyber Day. Hope you have a great birthday. On December 10th, it was Nestor Cortez's birthday. They tweeted happy birthday at Cortez 1210. And on December 8th, it was Josh Donaldson's birthday. Josh Donaldson is under contract for this year for the Yankees, making like $26 million. And the previous tweet before that from the Yankees is from December 5th. Or, sorry, December 7th. or whatever. They've had retweets and whatnot. Moral of the story is there was no December 8th tweet wishing Josh Donaldson happy birthday. They wish all their players happy birthday. Why not Josh Donaldson?
Because
I
they're
don't
racist.
understand it. I've tweeted at them. They haven't responded. They seem to just be flat out ignoring the fact that I don't know if it's because of the stuff he had earlier with Tim Anderson. I can't explain it. I have no reason for it. All I know is that the Yankees have flat out ignored that Josh Donaldson. Granted, if I was running the Yankees, I would not wish him happy birthday either because he's
listen, because if as soon as they do that, it goes into you have a racist on your team and they get quasi canceled online. Listen, you're asking a question you know the answer to, Frank.
No, but why? But he's a member of the team. They wish all their guys happy birthdays. Josh Donaldson deserves to be wished.
I guess there must be a clause like you know how you can have a mustache but not a beard on the Yankees. You get wished happy birthday unless you're accused of making racist comments. That is the get out of jail free card for happy birthday Twitter for the Yankees.
All I know is that no one else has talked about it. No one else has brought it up anywhere. I'm the only one who seems to notice. I just find it very.
You need a more of a life than Frank. If that's what you're sitting on Twitter looking.
No, the reason why I did it is because I wrote an article about the Yankees last week, and I wanted to see how old Josh Donaldson was because he was one of the points I was going to make why the Yankees have they need to make changes because Josh Donaldson's going to be on the team next year, and that's the problem. Josh Donaldson stinks. So I want to see how old he was, and I Googled him, and the day I wrote the article was his birthday. I was like, oh, that's interesting.
Did you wish him a happy birthday?
Yeah.
You tweeted at him and wished him a happy birthday.
I didn't tweet. I didn't at him in the tweet, but I said, join me in wishing Josh Donaldson happy birthday. But no one else joined in. So either way, it was his birthday. I remember no one else seemed to. Poor guy.
Good for you. And you didn't even remember. You stumbled into it.
Last point about baseball. The Mets have gone absolutely rogue with their payroll. After luxury tax penalties, their current payroll is set to be $421 million, which would shatter the all-time record.
Good for them.
They signed Verlander. They got the Japanese pitcher Kodai Senga. They gave Brandon Nimmo 8 years, $162 million. They re-signed Edwin Diaz. But they didn't re-sign Jacob deGrom. They went to go the extra mile for Jacob deGrom, but they're going
smart
haywire
move
for every other player that seems to be a
smart
free
move.
agent. Huh?
I'd rather have Verlander for the 3 years they signed him than deGrom for the 5 years the Rangers signed him.
I don't disagree, but the biggest concern with the Mets is that they're relying on a 40-year-old Justin Verlander and Max Scherzer. I believe he is 30.
He's old.
He's
relying on 2 old people.
He's 38. When is his birthday? Maybe I bet you the Mets will wish that. He's going to be 39 in July. I mean, that's old to expect full seasons out of a 40-year-old Justin Verlander and Max Scherzer's dealt with injuries the past 2 years, and guys don't get healthier as they get older. So that's my biggest concern for the Mets is the health of these starting pitchers. Can they hold up for a full season? That's a huge question mark. And Mets fans are being real cocky right now. They're like,
they were cocky. They were cocky all last year too, Frank.
I just hate like whenever any other team spends money, it's like great, good for them. But whenever the Yankees spend money, it's like, see, they're spending again. They buy all their championships. Like that has always bothered me. Like the Yankees have always been doing whatever every other team has done. Like, and if the Mets are doing it, it's okay. If the Dodgers are doing it, it's okay. But if the Yankees are doing it, then they're buying championships.
Frank, here's what you got to understand. There are the haves. There are the have-nots. The Yankees are a have, and if you're a have-not, you will scoff at them. The Mets are now a have. They're just too early to have the national hatred the Yankees do, and they also haven't won jack squat yet. So, trust me, the Mets hate is coming. The Dodgers hate, if it's not already here, is coming. The Padres, if they keep spending money like this, the hate is coming. The Astros are hated for a different reason. But the Yankees are a have. The Mets are a have. The Dodgers are a have. The Padres are a have. The Padres maybe a have, and the Astros maybe. Outside of that, I don't think there's any more haves, and everyone else that have nots. That leaves you 75 to 80% of the MLB fan bases to look up to you and say, we can't. Like the Guardians spent $40 million this offseason, and that was them breaking the bank for 2 players. They spent 33 on Josh Bell, and that was like, holy crap, they spent money. They spent $6 million on Zunino today, and people are like, oh, we overpaid. They spent 1 year, $6 million deal on Mike Zunino.
Was good for the Rays.
Who?
Mike Zunino was a good player.
He was hurt all last year, and if he's healthy, he'll be an upgrade of what they had. But they were like, they overpaid at $6 million, Frank. So, like, you just got to understand that the mindset of these fan bases is so drastically different than what we're accustomed to with the Yankees.
Last point before we go. Crap. Slipped my mind again. Major League Baseball.
No shift. Yankees.
Oh, yeah. So my favorite Twitter moment of the year so far.
Arson Judge?
No. Well, I actually missed that. I missed the whole thing. I don't follow John Heyman. So here's my John Heyman story. So I went to the Yankees Guardians playoff game 2. It was originally supposed to be on Thursday night, I believe, and got postponed and got switched to Friday. And that Thursday night, after they postponed the game, John Heyman tweeted, like, just so everyone knows, weather's supposed to be really, really bad in Bronx on Friday. And, like, all you had to do was look at the weather to see that there was no chance of rain. And then on Friday, such a perfect day. No weather at all to speak of. No precipitation. No nothing. It was a perfect day in New York City. And then after that, I unfollowed John Heyman and wanted nothing to do with him. So I didn't even see any of this. I saw it after the fact where he had already walked it back. I missed it. I forget what I was doing in the moment, but that's the realization that he was going to leave the Yankees. Aaron Judge never really hit me. So I missed the whole Arson Judge thing. But point was, Twitter moment. Tom Carroll tweeted after that, the night that Xander Bogaerts signed with the Padres at like 12:15 a.m. The Celtics just beat whoever they played that night, and the Bruins beat the Avalanche. Like, the vibes were immaculate. So, and then 2 minutes later, Xander Bogaerts signed with the Padres. So anytime anything bad happens with the Boston sports teams from now on, I'm going to tweet at Tom, how are the vibes now, Tom? Because he completely jinxed himself.
Real quick on Heyman. So I'm at the gym when it broke. I get a text from one of the guys on my show. Heyman just tweeted Judge the Giants. I'm like, oh, crap. So I go look for the tweet. It had already been deleted. I go, the tweet's been deleted. Jay Crawford, who I work with, who's in the know with all the baseball. Jay's the biggest baseball fan I've ever met. Him and you, Franco, would get along great. Like, all you guys care about is baseball.
That's not true. I care about the Nets.
But I mean, he cares about this. But I'm just saying, like, you guys are baseball junkies, like diehard baseball fans. Would watch 162 games if your schedule permitted.
Only of my team.
Yeah, he only wants to watch the Guardians. So it same page. He goes, I'm texting every baseball guy I know right now. There's something fishy in the works. Nothing's official. Yankees about to counter off. Yankees are going to make a counter offer. Stay tuned. And then I was getting, like, as these people were tweeting, I was getting the inside look from Jay. And he texted us, Judge resigning, not going. And then the alert comes, Judge resigning, not going. And I felt so cool for that 3-minute stretch that, like, I was on the same wavelength as the rest of these people getting the news in real time. So that's my Judge story. But it scared the crap. I left the gym. I went right home.
So. I mean, the Yankees, bottom line is they still got a lot of work to do. If they run this team back with IKF at shortstop and Josh Johnson third base, just forfeit the season. If that's the way you're approaching it, just forfeit. Don't even bother. That's it.
I agree.
But find a way to trade Josh Johnson and Aaron Hicks and be very happy. But that will do it for this edition of the Lucas and Lucas podcast. Hopefully we'll see you all next week.